Hi guys, I'm Khadroth, and today we're going to be talking to you about everything to do with AP efficiency. I know this is a subject of great importance and interest, especially to new players, but even veterans can learn some tips and tricks from this. So I'm going to talk about everything I have here on my little notepad, and hopefully it's going to cover some of the things that I've learned over the years that can really help you guys out. So the first thing that you guys need to know is basically how the AP system works. This is your stamina gauge. It's going to be something that, again, you're going to get 1 point of it every 5 minutes. So typically what I end up doing is I end up spending down my AP roughly twice a day. At once in the morning, at once in the evening. That tends to tide me over. However, there will be a way that you won't have to worry about this in the future on NA, and similarly, JP already has this feature, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Now, again, another aspect at play here is whenever you use up your stamina, whenever you've done everything that you can do for the time being, there is a way to refill in this game. That's going to be called using golden fruit, silver fruit, bronze fruit, whatever you want to call them, aka apples. Apples are the #1 way to refill in this game. You can do it with quartz. That tends to be mostly a whale thing. A whale is a big spender on the game for anyone unfamiliar with gacha lingo. So you can basically spend actual gacha currency to refill. I don't advise it, especially not for a newer player, unless they're someone that really wants to go hard in the paint. Just keep in mind, again, that is using your gacha currency for an AP refill. So again, I don't necessarily recommend that unless you're doing it for a very specific reason and you're well aware of that cost. You will get plenty of apples as you go throughout the game. You're going to get them from events. You're going to get them from campaigns. So as long as you're playing the game, logging in every day, as long as you're trying to spend your AP down all the time, you're going to start accumulating apples. Now, I think one of the big things that I see a lot of players get wrong, and again, I'm going to try to really emphasize this for you, is try to be as efficient as you possibly can with your AP. That is, again, try to log in every day. Try to spend your AP down every day. If you do that, whenever you get to an event in the game, you are going to be able to complete the event on what's called nat AP, so natural AP. That means your normal AP region will be enough over the duration of the event if you're playing regularly to complete it without the use of any apples or quartz for refills. That tends to be how our events are structured nowadays, even regardless of whether or not you rolled to get craft essences for efficiency or anything like that. You can still typically complete most events nowadays on nat AP. So I highly recommend doing it that way. If you're worried and concerned that you might not complete the event on nat AP, go as long as you reasonably think you can on nat AP. Then as you're close to the end, then you consider popping an apple or two to try and make it through. That way you don't overspend and overuse your apples. And you may be wondering why I'm advising you not to use your apples. And the main reason is because as you guys move through the game, you're going to find very lucrative opportunities to farm. These are going to be opportunities where, again, it's either a half cost campaign, which is another really good thing for you to target for your AP, or it may just be something where the overall drop efficiency or rewards are just very, very lucrative. Those are going to be the instances that you want to save apples for. Half AP, lotto events, raid events, hunting quests even, they can all be really good opportunities for you to use your apples. That way you get more bang for your buck. You get a little bit more usefulness out of your apples rather than just using them for normally farming free quests or, again, playing catch up because you were hooky in the middle of an event. So you don't want to leave an event until the last minute, then try to pop apples and catch up. You can certainly do this if real life gets in the way, but again, there is another mechanic coming up soon that will bail you out for that. So I highly recommend, at least for now, playing as efficiently as you possibly can. And generally, it's a good thing to practice over time, even once that mechanic comes to NA. Now then, let's see. Next here on my thing is, okay, so there's two other things that I should probably make you aware of. One is when your AP bar is capped out, you are no longer gaining AP. That means, again, that 5-minute timer that you guys are going to see, it's not going to be able to count down and get you another point of AP, another point of stamina for you to be able to spend on the nodes. Keep in mind, there are some apples that will cap you out. When you cap yourself from an apple, when you actually hit the max stat, your timer no longer ticks for that moment. In fact, if your timer was down to say something like 2 minutes remaining until you got another point of AP, and you pop that apple, that will then reset on you. You will not be able to sort of cap it and then pull it back down and still have the 2-minute timer. So that's going to be a problem for you. So again, keep that in mind. It's not the end of the world. Again, if you do that, I've seen people that are really hard up and they really try to be like, oh, I'm only going to pop an apple like right as it's turning over or something like that to minimize the loss. That's not worth the time efficiency lost at that point. I'm not a huge proponent for time efficiency in this game, but I think it's more of a pain in the ass type deal where it's like, hey, it's probably not worth waiting for that exact minute. Sure, if you want to wait for like 15 seconds for that to be a case, that's fine, but you're also only losing 15 seconds. So I'm going to say anything more than that, you're probably getting way out there and it's just not really worth waiting and actually standing around. Just go and you'll probably thank yourself at that point. But that, again, is when you get into the mode to actually pop apples. Now, the other trick that I want to tell you guys about is, fun fact, as you load into a node, your AP is spent. So the second you load in, you're good. The AP was spent. The reason I'm telling you that trick is there is going to be plenty of times that you might find yourself with real life getting in the way of your ability to play the game. Maybe you got to go to work. Maybe you got to go to some sort of social event with your family, your friends, your significant other, who knows. The whole point is, what you can do is you can actually go into a node that will spin the AP down. And again, if it's something like a 40 AP node, you've got over 3 hours then at that point before you have to tend to it again. So that buys you some time. It definitely can help get you sort of allowing your AP to keep continuing to tick and refill. So when in doubt, if your AP is going to cap out, just go in and go into any type of node that you think can help you. Anything with regards to Chaldea Gate, especially for new accounts, can be really nice. So Ember Gathering, Treasure Vault for the QP, or heck, even the training grounds for statues and gems. So again, I'm going to say try to do something for a new account rather than let your AP sit at cap. Now, there's another thing, and we'll get to this in a minute, but basically, you guys are going to note that every time you level up in this game, every time your master level increases, your AP bar will fill. For the first several hundred levels there, it's basically going to, not several hundred, but basically a little bit over 100. It will increase every single time as well that you do level up. So you will gain more points of stamina in order to be able to do it, and it will cap your bar out from wherever you are. So you'll get a full bar. So if you were at something like 20 points of stamina remaining out of 100 and you level up, you might get 100 more points of stamina. So you might be at 120 at that point, but it might also increase. It might go up one. So you maybe instead you're at 121 now because it gave you the extra point. So again, just keep that in mind that as you level up, you're going to keep getting refills because of that. And I've seen people call this a sort of artificial apple or something like that, or just a natural free refill. Either way, it's still a really, really nice thing to keep in mind and take advantage of. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the types of apples that are out there. So you guys can see there are basically 4 various types of refill besides quartz that you guys can use. Now, chief amongst those, and probably the one you're going to use at least a significant portion of the time, is going to be golden apples. The gold apples will refill 100% of your AP, regardless of what level you are. Now, I want you to think about that because that does mean you basically should, if you think you're going to level up, try to delay using golden apples, because especially for those early levels where you keep getting a bigger and bigger stamina bar, you're going to want to actually use something that's more defined, more finite in its use, not something that scales percentage wise with your bar. That is to say, the more you delay using them, the more AP you get out of them. So therefore, the more value they technically have. Same thing is going to happen here with your silver apples. You won't see these too often outside of events, but again, they can be given out as part of a campaign. It just tends to be rare. Most of the time we see golden apples given. Silver apples are same deal as gold, a percentage increase. They are a 50% increase of your stamina gauge. So they will, sorry, increase is not the right word to use here. Refill is the correct word. So that you don't think the stamina bar is increasing every time you use an apple. It's literally refilling your bar part way. So this one's going to bring back 50% of your gauge. So again, if you were at that 20 out of 100 scenario, you would then be at 70 after popping this, because it would have given you 50 AP back. So same deal here. You probably want to delay using these if you can. It's not the end of the world, but again, it's just that concept of, hey, the higher the level, the more stamina I have, therefore the more value I get out of these percentage-based apples. And then we get to, again, sort of the common apple here, the bronze apple, but still you're probably not going to see these too often given out outside of events. The chief way that a lot of people get most of their bronze apples is actually from lotto boxes. Lottery events are something that happen twice a year, and you can get apples out of those boxes, and often you'll see people, especially if they do a lot of boxes, having tons of them. The good part about bronze apples is they are locked in at 10 AP. So just to kind of explain this can be a good thing for you to do, one, when you're at low levels, because it doesn't scale with your AP bar. It's just always a finite number. And two, you may find yourself in a situation where, you know, maybe you need to go to bed or something like that, but you're worried that, you know, you're not going to get to play the game for long enough that your AP will cap out. So maybe you're sitting at this weird amount, like 30 AP or something like that. And you go, crap, you know, it might be like 9+ hours before I actually get to this. All of a sudden, that's where actually popping a bronze apple and going into a 40 AP node's not the worst idea. It's not the most efficient use of your apples, but I think you could maybe view it as an opportunity cost type situation of, hey, if I spend a little, I can spend my AP all the way down, and then it'll be able to last longer before I cap back out again and have my AP wasted just sitting there at cap. So that's another efficiency argument right there. But still, really, really good uses. And then we get to bronze apples. Now, again, this is a little bit confusing, and this is sort of the terminology that they are on JP. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, the way the community refers to these is blue apples, and you can see why. They look blue. So again, if you say bronze, someone's going to confuse it with copper and think that that's the one you're talking about. In fact, a lot of people call copper apples bronze apples. So don't get confused by this. If you hear someone saying bronze, they mean this one. They do not mean this one. So that's just something you guys got to understand. But blue apples are a relatively new addition to the game. And how they work is they are a sort of AP banking system. So you can create blue apples yourself, but you create them with a bronze sapling. Don't worry, they're the only ones that work this way. So if you just call it a sapling, people probably know what you mean. But essentially the way the saplings work is they are given out for story completion rewards. So as you guys move throughout the story, you guys are going to get saplings. With those saplings, you can then turn 40 AP into a blue apple. You're going to take that sapling, go into the Da Vinci shop, and it's going to have the ability for you to do that. So there will be a little apple symbol there in there, and you'll be able to convert it. This is not out on an A yet, and that's because it came out on the 25 million downloads campaign in May of 2022. So you're looking at this being May of 2024, unless they bring it to NA early, which certainly could happen. This is not any sort of story locked requirement, but it would mean that they'd be robbing this download campaign. So again, depending on when you watch this video, these may already be out or they may be coming soon. So it just depends. But it's a good thing for you guys to understand how they work. Now, again, with regards to this, you're going to spend 40 AP and combine it with the sapling here in order to make the blue apple. So what does that do for you? Again, that allows you to bank your AP. It's you saying, hey, I don't have anything I want to do today in the game. I don't have anything that I have the time to do. Maybe I'm busy with real life. Or again, maybe you just determine that for whatever reason, like right now, maybe you're filming a YouTube video and your AP is about to cap out. So you just actually created a blue apple and consumed it, knowing full well that you're going to pop it back later. So that can definitely be something that you're going to do. The only thing I'm going to caution you is that technically the saplings are finite. There is only a limited amount of them, and it is limited by story completion. So it is theoretically possible that you could run out. So keep that in mind. That is a concern. Make sure you're doing your story, keeping on pace for that, and you'll be fine. But again, this is a very, very adaptable resource is what I'm going to say. It's something that I think is really, really nice for being able to sort of structure your AP and play the game when you want to, how you want to. Similarly, this can be used where maybe you come across a scenario where it's a quote unquote dead week. This terminology is used for events or time periods where there are no events, where maybe there's just a half cost campaign, and maybe it's for something you don't care to farm, or maybe it's for something you don't need. Well, either way, if you find yourself in such a situation and you don't actually think that it's that good for you, you can make blue apples that entire time instead. And you can hold an infinite supply of blue apples as long as you have the saplings to create them. So you can hold them until there is a lucrative farming scenario that you want to pop them in. Or again, you can maybe use them to work with your work life, your social life, whatever, in order to make it so that you don't have to necessarily spend your AP right at that moment. So I think this is really valuable. Something else that has been brought to my attention over time here, and something that I've been at least hesitant until now to actually advise, is that essentially what happens to a lot of new players is you will sit there and you will level up repeatedly really fast. You will bank so much AP. You will sit there and you will have, and I've literally seen again, like upwards of 2,000 AP sitting there on their bar just from how quickly new players will level up. The problem with that is you're sitting there with 2,000 AP. You're not going to lose that AP, but what you are losing out on if you're over cap is all of that natural AP that you would be gaining. So the concept after Blue Apples comes out is that you might, as a new player, want to create Blue Apples as you go. One, because you will eventually reach more lucrative farmable nodes later on after you level up. And two, you're not going to have your AP rotting sitting there, again, thousands over cap. So you will actually still be getting that net AP for the whole time. Because I have seen people literally sit for months over their AP bar just from the amount of refills from leveling up. So again, I think that is another way that you guys can think about this, basically, from a efficiency standpoint. So again, the only thing as I'm going to say here is with regards to using your AP and thinking about that, events tend to be your first priority, and half cost campaigns are another big thing. So if you guys see there's maybe half cost QP and you're really low on QP, that's a good time probably to go after that particular thing that you need, right? Maybe it's half cost free quest completion for the first time. Hey, have you not done any of those free quests? You can get quartz from completing them. So yeah, maybe that's where you start going around and doing all of your free quests. So as long as you guys handle that, again, I'm still going to say events are your top priority there, but as long as you guys are using your AP in either an event or some kind of efficient way, you'll be fine. Even if there's nothing else going on, you should definitely spend your AP down for the day. That will keep your account moving forward. It is a slow process, but you will find that there are certain periods of the game where your account will progress leaps and bounds. So I highly recommend establishing good habits, playing the game, spending your AP down every single day. And even if you can't, later on, when Blue Apples get into the game, you have a mechanism by which you can play the game later when you have the time. So I hope this was informative to you. I hope this helps you. Let me know if you have any questions about how to use your AP down below, and I will try to get to them. I will see you guys for the next video. Thank you all for watching. Later.